Today's topic is compounding. Okay, here's the title. The Untold Truth About Compounding. So it's all about mathematics again. There's some fun story that I want to tell here. Okay, let's start. Okay, the story, right, about this compounding is this guy. His name is Thomas Austin. Back in Australia, it was 1859. So this is the origin stories of the rabbits in Australia. Let's go back in time, right, to this place, right, called Winchelsea in Australia in 1859. There's two guys, right? The guys on the left-hand side is Mr. Thomas Austin, and the guys on the right side is actually the author of the book. So the name of the book is What I Learned About Investing from Darwin. So now, okay, so he's saying that he's the advisor to Mr. Thomas Austin. So Mr. Austin has imported 24 rabbits from England, and he wants to release them in the wild for sports hunting. He's intelligent fellow and is wary of the rabbit prodigious reproductive ability, and he does not wish the farmland in Winchelsea to be overrun by the rabbits. So he seek the counsel. Just as he's about to release the habits, right, then there's this guy coming from the future. I come from 1925 and I see catastrophe ahead. Don't release the rabbits. This is the guy who is literally from the future. Then what happened is that the advisor, he laughed at the remark, so he just ignored the warning and asked Mr. Austin to just release the rabbits. Then this guy's from the future, right, he promised to visit them every 5 to 10 years to continue to warn about the exterminating the rabbits. Then the guys from the future, right, he fulfilled his promise, and every time he'll come to see these two guys, and then Mr. Author, he would just ask the same questions. So after 5 years, right, the number of rabbits, right, instead of like just 24 rabbits, now it's already 108. The guys from the future, he said, kill them before it's too late. Then the response coming from these two guys is that, where are the rabbits? Cannot see. Only, so there are not many rabbits, right? Then 10 years later, the number of rabbits now increased to 482. So same advice, kill them before it's too late. Then the response is, where are the rabbits? Cannot see. Then 20 years later, now the number of rabbits is 9,700. Then the guys from the future came back again and say, kill them before it's too late. Then the same response, where are the rabbits? 9,000, still not many rabbits. Then 35 years later, now the number is 900,000 rabbits. Same advice, kill them before it's too late. Then the response, where are the rabbits? Because 900,000 it's not crazy high numbers of rabbits, right? It's still okay, it's still manageable. Okay, now that is, remember, this is up until the first 35 years. Remember, just first 35 years. Then 45 years after 1859, now suddenly the number of rabbits is like 17.5 million. Then the guys from the future came again and say, kill them before it's too late. The response is that, I can see some. Okay, now finally, 17.5 million is not small numbers already. It's like getting big already. You already can see rabbits jumping around already. It's causing some problem already. Then 55 years later, number of rabbits is now 350 million. Then the guys from the future say, is it too late? Then the response say, no, it's not. I think the guys still think, okay, can manage with 350 million. Then now, 66 years later, 66 years from 1859, which is only like 11 years after the previous warning, then the advice say, I told you so, it's already too late, So this is actually true story, This is not some fictionless things. So this one coming, the author is Pulat Prasad. So this is the book that I have been reading. So I just think that this story is quite interesting. The interesting part, right, is that I'll go into more details here. But for those who are interested, right, this is what I pull out from ChatGPT. So there's some story about the early introductions, because I think the intention is good. I just like want to do some, sports hunting. So it's nothing much. And it all started with 24 rabbits imported from England, right? Then there's explosions of rabbit populations, and then there's a lot of problems. And then even until today's, right, it's still a problem that, okay, it's not as bad as 10 billion rabbits, but it's still a problem for those in Australia. So for those who are interested, you can just read out the text here. I won't go into a lot of all these details. But I just want to say the interesting part, right, about this, right, the surprising, right, or the untold part about compounding, right? Because you can say there are two things, right? Number one is that the power of compounding is like so crazy. Okay, I think this one, many people, they heard about all this compounding, the eighth wonder in the world. They will know that, okay, the power of compounding is very, very scary and very, very powerful. You can see the number go from 100 rabbits go to 1 million, then 17.5 million, then 350 million, then suddenly just become 10 billion, right? So this is the power of compounding is really powerful. And I think you guys watching here, you all heard about all this. But I think the untold part, right, is that actually when you talk about compounding, right, the numbers go out a lot, but that is usually the later parts of the compounding. Because you see here, we are just projecting 66 years, right, to hit from 24 rabbits to become 10 billion, right? The interesting part is that if you just take a pause at 35 years, right, meaning it's like about the midpoint, right, between 0 0 to 66 here. So close to midpoint, right? 35. You are only at close to 1 million rabbits. Remember, the end outcome is like 10 billion, and you just take a midpoint, it's only at, you see, only at 1 million. So it's not even like zero, it's about like 0.1% of the ultimate peak, which is 10 billions, right? Not even 0.1%. I think the untold or the inconvenient truth about compounding, right, is this. It is very, very, very slow in the beginning. And by beginning, right, I'm not talking about the first 10% of the journey. I'm talking about the first 50% of the journey. Even the first 70% of the journey, you can still see that it is very, very slow. You see, even 45 years, right, it's only 17.5 millions. You need to wait until the last 20 years, right, where it compound from 17.5 millions, suddenly become 10 billions. That's the part that is like crazy. So the compounding, the powerful part is always the final part. Another example is, I think, Warren Buffett's wealth. Also similar. We all know that he is now how many, like 100 billions of net worth, right? It is only the last 20 years where he compounded most of his net worth. So I think that's the thing about compounding that just want to share with you all. We can come up with some another like numerical examples which is closer to investing, because when we talk about rabbits and we talk about reproductive, right, I think it's kind of hard to gel it back to our portfolio size, right? Now let's start from, let's say, like a starting capital of 100,000, right? Because I believe most people, they can just, by not investing, right, by just working and saving, they can hit this 100k. And then let's just assume compound at 10%, right? And 10% S&P 500, I mean, historically they also compounded at about 10%, right? So just take some simple numbers like this. Of course, you can scale your starting capital, because some people, they can earn to $1 million without really just compound with investing, right? So you can scale this up to suit your situations, right? But just start from the simple one. 100,000 of capital, 10% of compound rate, and then how many years would it take to grow to 10 millions? Which I believe for most people, 10 millions is enough to retire in a comfortable lifestyle, right? Just look at this as an example, right? The answer to that question is 49 years. And this is not counting like fresh capital that you put in. You just start from 100k, no more fresh capital, and just compound at 10%, right? You need 49 years to compound to $10 million. So 49 years, I don't want to say this is short, right? Okay, still long, but just bear with me here. Then it takes 49 years to compound from 100k to 10 million, right? Now the next question is, right, is how many years does it take to compound from 100k to 1 million? 1 million is like 10% of that 10 million, right? So how many years to hit like 10% of your ultimate journey, right? The answer is 25 years. You need like 50% of the time to just hit 10% of the target. So 25 years required just to hit the first 1 million. So you can see, right, basically I think the sad truth is that yes, we all know that we can hit that 10 million following this example, but for 25 years, you are just, take your time, 25 years, so long just to hit your first million. So compounding is very, very slow in the early years. So if you see, right, this is the example above. Let's say we start from year 0, you already accumulated your first 100,000, right, or 0.1 million, right? Then year 25, you take 25 years just to hit your first million. Then at year 32, which is 7 years after year 25, right, you hit 2.1 million. That's like a lot shorter as compared to 25 years, right? Then after that, another 4 years, you hit 3 million. Another 3 years, you hit 4 million. Another 3 years, you hit 5.4 million. Another 1 year, you hit 6 million. Another 2 years, you hit 7 million. And then another 1 more year, you hit 8 million. Okay, then another 3 years, from 8 million, you grow your portfolio to 10.6 million. You can see here, right, every 1 million take lesser and lesser number of years because of that magic of compounding. But this magic of compounding, right, you don't see it for the first 25 years, man. You don't see it. It's like so slow that we all forget that actually our portfolio is compounding, because you can't see it. You only see it when you manage to hit your first million, and then from there, the subsequent 1 million and subsequent 1 million become faster and faster. That's the magic of compounding. That's why I think people, you can work out the Excel and come up with like, oh, I know the power of compounding is very, very, very powerful. I think logically you can come to this conclusion and you can agree to it. But sometimes it's hard to do the right thing and let the portfolio compound, right, if you don't see the effect. But by the time you see the effect, right, this compounding, right, is already work when you are, like closer to quite senior age, then only you can see, wow, okay, it's like now I can see the magic, but now I'm already like 70 years old, right? So then you try to advise those who are like 30 years old, 40 years old, yeah, your portfolio can compound one, but you don't see it for the next 25 years. so it's very hard for them to, do the right thing and just believe that this power of compounding will come, because they don't see it. They need to just grind through that 25 years of nothing, right? Then only they see the magic come in. So I think behaviorally is a bit hard, but I just hope that with all these examples here, you can see that actually as long as you have your starting capital, as long as you invest in something that is able to compound, as long as you don't disrupt the compounding, then actually we are all fine, man. Our portfolio will be able to support our retirement. No worry on that. Then come back to this slide, right? Because I was actually looking at this thumbnail. Actually watch Adam Khoo's video also. So he talked about September dip, and then in one of his slides, actually it's quite interesting because I think he tried to break down like, okay, seasonally, if you look at January to December, which month is doing well relatively speaking, and which month, like for example September month, is usually not as good, right? Because it tend to dip in September. Then he give his take on the market, and even share about a couple of number of companies that he has invested in, right? I think all this is like quite interesting to watch. But if you contrast these kind of things, right, versus the compounding that I have mentioned, right, actually, do you really need to maximize or do interesting here or September because it's like weak? I wait after September only deploy capital, or should I sell before September and just wait for the dip because September tend to be weaker? So do you want to do that kind of things given knowing that your portfolio? Actually, don't worry about the first 25 years. You just need to think through that 25 years, hit the 1 million milestone. From there, it just compound upwards, right? So I think that's the thing. So like do you need to do all this active stuff that is like, oh, I need to deploy, pull capital from this company A, move to B, need to do all this active thing or not? Do you need that? That's actually my questions. The other one coming from Mr. Lu is market is confusing, bad news, where he's talked about the labor market. You all know, right? The job market isn't that well. The release came out on Friday, right? Sometimes, like we, like including myself, content creators, right? We want to create like all these, thumbnail that try to attract your attentions, make you come and watch our content. And then we talk about the latest market news, right? Like, oh, it could be the job market, it could be specific stocks that tank. So all these things, right, tend to make you feel about like, oh, you are watching the latest things, you want to actively position your portfolio. But I just want to say, regardless of what you wanted to do after you watch all this entertainment video, right? Actually, you are only remember, you are inside these first 25 years. And I want to argue, actually, this 25 years isn't that important one. Okay, it is important in a way that you want to make sure you don't disrupt the compounding, and you want to make sure that, let's say, if there's any volatility, make sure that you consistently put your capital to work, right? So, and then make sure that whatever that you are investing in is something that can compound over the long period of time, which I would say that, let's say, like those passive index like S&P 500, or let's say like global market index, right? These are the indices that proven that they can compound over time because they have the best companies in the index, and you are not just investing in like specific pocket, which we don't know, right? It could be a lot more volatile. It could be, you could suffer some downturn in the sector for a long period of time. But as long as you invest passively, invest in a broad market, right? You know that you will be able to compound one. You just want to wait that so-called magic to come in. Then that your portfolio can fly from there, right? So remember, you are only in your first 25 years. So and once you hit that magic number, right? After that first 25 years, right? Your portfolio will fly. Right? So, and coming from Charlie Munger is that the first rule of compounding, never interrupt it unnecessarily. So now I'm talking to those who are asking like, oh, market all-time high, should I sell my portfolio? Should I put in cash? Should I take my money and go and buy something fancy? Then my answer to you is that no, don't interrupt your portfolio. Let it grow. It needs time. It needs the first 25 years. So this is advice from Charlie Munger. Then the other thing which I think quite interesting to illustrate is that, this paper folding exercise, where I think the example is like, okay, if you have a very, very big piece of paper, just a normal thickness, 0.1 millimeter, and then you just fold. As you fold, the thickness just doubled, right? Imagine that you just fold like 10, 20, 30, 50 times. Just pause here for a second, right? If you need to like just guess, right? What is the height of this stack of paper after you fold like, 5 and 10 or 20, 50 times, right? So you can pause here, just guess, then write your answer down, and then after that, you can look at the answer here, right? So let's go. Okay, in the first 10 folds, right, from 0.1 millimeter, it can go up to about 10 centimeters. This is the first 10 folds, okay? It double for 10 times. So now you are at 10 centimeters. So the progress looks very trivial. It's like almost, nothing, right? 10 folds. It's already 10 folds, nothing much. It is still like, okay, manageable. Then 20 folds. Suddenly, we are talking about 100 meters tall. So it's like crazy, right? 100 meters, that is like, the height of a building structure already. That's 20 folds, right? You want to guess the next one? So 30 folds, we are now talking about 100 kilometers. And just for your visual here, right, Mount Everest is like about 8.8 kilometer tall, the height, right? 8.8 kilometers. Normally, when you are flying, that's about like less than 10 kilometers. Now suddenly we are at 100 kilometers at 30 folds. only doubled for 30 times. Okay, 40 folds. We are now talking about 100,000 kilometers. So just for your information, the average distance between Moon and Earth is only 384,000 kilometers. By 40 folds, it's already 100,000. And by the way, you only need 42 folds to reach the Moon. Okay, by 43 folds, right, you already reach the Moon and come back already. That's 43, right? So next one, 50 folds. 50 folds, you hit about 100 million kilometers. And to reach the Sun, actually the average distance between Earth and Sun is about 150 million. So you only need 51 folds to reach the Sun. And 52 folds, you already reach the Sun and come back already. So you can see, right, you don't need thousands of folds, right? As you double, right, very quickly it will go up one. But remember, the sad thing is that the first 10 folds, right, you are not going anywhere, the first 10 folds, you are only like, oh, I don't see anything, right? You double, 10 times already double, you don't see anything one. The magics only kick in when you do that another subsequent 10 folds and another subsequent 10 folds and another subsequent 10 folds, right? So that's where the compounding magic came in. With that said, I hope that your portfolio will continue to compound, and remember, we are in our first 25 years. You don't see anything for now, or whatever number you look at your portfolio, right? Whatever number it is, it could be 50,000, it could be 250,000, it could be 2 million, it could be 5 millions, right? Just look at this number and tell yourself that, okay, this 5 million actually is nothing. The magic of compounding haven't really started yet, As you continue that for another 20 years, then you see the magic really kick in. Okay, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe. Oh shit, frozen again.